All right, guys, we're taking over the stream here. I'm Colin Mayfield here on WCNC Plus Impact News Stream. We do know that Sunday marks 5 years since one of Charlotte's most devastating shootings. It was a shooting that really left 4 people dead, and a community really forever changed on June 22nd of 2020. And to this day, no one has been charged yet, and we were able to speak to Miles Harris, was able to speak to one of the victims' fathers, the father, about the tragedy, obviously 5 years later, and how he is dealing with that loss. So we'll go to this interview now.
All right, sir, if you don't mind just recording your first and last name for me, please.
Charles Billings.
Okay. And I know you kind of started on it, though, too, but Sunday will mark 5 years.
Sunday will be 5 years.
When we talk about the Juneteenth, and I know we're talking about a specific incident, what kind of plays in your mind?
It plays in, well, this, like I was telling my wife and, my family, this month is the hardest month that me and my wife had to go through. This is a tough. Father's Day is, you'll be in another world. You just want to be left alone. And you really don't know how to take people when they say Happy Father's Day. So you don't know how to take that, like, it's not a Happy Father's Day, Even with families and friends and all that, that's the worst holiday to me in my life, And I know they don't mean no harm by saying it. It's just a natural thing, but if you're going through what any parent going through, you don't want that,
Talking about Jamaa, who was Jamaa, man?
My son, Jama's a good kid, and smiling all the time, always happy, took care of his family. He's
humble.
Yeah, very humble, and would help anybody, and he's just a good kid, a good person. You can ask anybody. He's a very, very humble, more humble than his dad is. I'll put it like that. So, and growing up, he's a teenager, we had our little, man-to-man talks and stuff, but he listened, Never gave, not a hard time. Never gave anybody a hard time. Always helping people,
When we talk about the Juneteenth event and the incident that happened 5 years ago, there's still a lot of questions about this incident. What kind of questions kind of play with you right now?
Well, to be honest, I was downtown about maybe a week ago, right? So something say stop in, because I know Juneteenth is coming up, and I said, let's go down and see what's, really going on. Man, I went down there, goes to the desk, after they let you come through, and, goes to the desk and asks the officer, I said, he's asked me, who I'm saying. I said, well, I'm down here for the Juneteenth and my Jamaa Cassell. Told him what did happen, my son's birthday, spelled out his name and everything. I was there for about 15 minutes. He said he couldn't find it. I said, I had to take a good breath, because now that's boiling on me now, I'm really, really getting pissed. Mm-hmm. So the lady in the middle of the desk, she was pulling it up to him. So I'm still, he couldn't find it. So she saw how mad I was getting. So she said, I found it. He gave it to me. He pulled it up, and he gave it to me. And I said, the officer, the investigating officer, this is his number. He gave me his number and everything. I said, you think he's in? Nah, he's not in, I said, okay. So goes back out, and just something hit me and say, call him. Call the guy. Guess where he's at? Upstairs. So now I got to go back through. And he said, I said, I'm Charles Billings, you know. He says, I'm the detective, you know, doing your case and everything. He said, I'd like to meet you. Where you at? I said, I'm downstairs. He comes downstairs. And I'm looking at the guy that wouldn't give me the information. You know, like, so again, I just went up and let's go upstairs. We went upstairs. Way up, there's told me his name and everything. He says, I'm Mr. Billings. I just got this case. I got the case. I was down there Thursday. He said, I got the case Wednesday. Now, you know, can't wait to get to your office so we can, you know, go over this here. You just got the case? No, we said, well, what the last investigating officer asked you? I say, man, it's been almost 2 years. I hadn't heard from nobody. Nobody. Until the day. I had never heard from the department or them. That even come out to my house and say, you lost your son? Or anything. So now you telling me, you Wednesday, I was ask you, you know, the investigating officer and ask you and everything. I say, nothing. Matter of fact, I don't even know who he is. Oh, well, I say, and he goes like, well, you know, I was on, he was a regular officer then. He says, I was over there. So I'm looking at it, well, you mean to tell me they gave you a case, not give you, update you on the case, and you asking me to update you on the case? I said, you know, man, you know, don't lie to me no more. Tell me the truth. And he says, I was one of the officers over there, you know, and I'm going like, okay. Then you know what's going on, you know. But you turn around and tell me about the young lady, Kelly. You telling me about her, and I'm not down here for Kelly now. I'm here for my son. Let's talk about my son. You know, that's not for me to discuss anything which I don't know about them. Because hell, I don't even know much about my son's case. You know, you telling me you just took it over. So I said, he went on, you know, about this and that, you know, talking about George Floyd. Now we jumped from my son to George Floyd. Now you're really pissing me off, you know. So they did this here, and they tore up a cause. And I said, look here, let me tell you something, man. I don't want to hear that shit. I say, if y'all knew they was going to tear it up like that, why would you give somebody a permit to have Juneteenth over there? Why would you do this, you know, if you were scared for the police you hit, you know, and all this right here? Mm-hmm. And I got this here, and I don't care who get pissed off about it. I got this here from Sheriff McFadden. He told me, he pulled me to the side, and he told me they had a meeting 3 times. 3 times, and he told them to shut it down. You know what the mayor said?
Keep it going.
Stand down. Stand down. He said, we had 3 meetings. She told us the same thing. Stand down. So you're going to protect downtown. You're going to protect all the surrounding areas. And you're going to let them do this for 3 days. Stand down. Because of something that happened to George Floyd. Which don't live here. That you don't work for wherever it happened at for George Floyd. You're supposed to serve and protect Charlotte. That's what we pay you for. And you say stand down. Would you have let this happen? Miles Park? Valentine's? And your eyes are telling you stand down. I mean, stop it. Stop it. 3 days you let this happen. 3rd day my son got killed. You just stopped it. Like your eyes out there seeing this here. It's a possibility that my son could be still living. And the other people's, you know. But you say stand down. Now I'm going through this, like I told the detective. So is it a cold case? 2 years? So it's been sitting there?
There's no movement really with your gathering with this case. Yeah, there's not attention to it, is what you're kind of.
Yeah, it's no attention at all. It's like you threw it under the bus. But 4 people got killed. Now 4 officers got killed. You know, so I know they work for the Charlotte, you know, but they citizens. They got killed. No attention. And then you're gonna tell me I just got the case. The day after I come down there. If it was your son, how would you feel? And that's what I asked him. I said, you know, don't beat around the bush. You know, just tell me. Well, you know, I say, well, what? We got suspects. We got this. You're not telling me nothing.
There's still nothing from what you gathered from that conversation. There's no suspects. Is that the part that kind of bothers you the most with this whole thing as well?
That, and by talking to that officer down there, I'm going like every night, every day. I talk to my son, and I can say, oh, one day it's going to happen. You know, I could be in the yard, I could be out of town. And somebody going to say, Mr. Billings, we got him. That's the hope that I got. You know, every day. Not every day. And then I go down there and you tell me something like that. I just got the case. You asked me about the last officer or detective that had the case. Never called, never came here, never updated us on anything. And now you telling me you was on patrol and you got the case the day before I come down. That's just like telling me, oh, I was going to call you. I was just going to call you. And you know, like I say, I was so mad I almost went to jail down there for telling me, don't lie to me. You know, I think that's the worst thing you can do to me, is lie to me and my family. So if you tell me the truth, I can live with it. Because what's been done has been done.
Right.
It's nothing I can do. But basically you're telling me you're not doing your job. And then he goes like, yeah, I know it's the other police department, and I know it's the other investigating, you know, I can see why, you know, it's taking so long. 5 investigators been on this case. Never heard from one. Don't know when to quit. Never knew who was the next officer. Never. So, and you know, and it makes you wonder, like, yeah, you threw my son and the other ones under the bus, you know. But again, you got no disrespect to the police department or you know, the ones that lost these 4 officers too. You know, no disrespect at all, but you put more into it than you did for these 4 innocent people too. So
how are you? Are you doing anything else to try to get any answers?
Well, you know, it's frustrating. It's hard. This is more hard trying to get something done for my son as the day when it first happened, because it looked like I'm not getting anywhere, and it looked like the city of Charlotte is not even trying.
As you try to move forward, try to find normalcy, how will you honor your son this Sunday, and how will you kind of keep going?
I got family, my wife, my sister, my grandkids. We got 2 great grandsons, you know, and you know that old saying, you put in God's hand. And if you don't believe in God, this will make you believe in God. So you have to learn to keep living and adjust to what's happening. And you have to realize that it happened, and you have to pray and you have to ask God to help you with this here and your family, because at one time in life, I really didn't care about life. I didn't care, and I asked God to take all that evil on this out of me. But it seems like if I go and try to get information, update on it, and you tell me lies and lies, it pushed that evil back into me. Because don't lie, just tell the truth. Because like I say, what's done is done. And it's nothing everybody's human, everybody makes mistakes. I can keep saying that you took a job, you took an oath to serve and protect, but you're human too. I have a problem with people when you make a mistake and don't want to own up to it. You don't want to own up to it, and you want to throw other people's on the bus. Oh, it's your fault. We're talking about somebody's life. We're talking about 3 people's life, and the same thing I feel about the 4 officers. We're talking about their lives. Did you throw their family under the bus? But you're throwing me and my family and the other people's under the bus. And in the black community, you're always saying they throw us on the bus. It's a file sitting there on the desk and nobody cares about it. That's how we feel. Now this right here is a prime example of it. This is a prime example of it right here. I goes down there. I got the case a week ago. I got the case a day ago, and now you're telling me it's been over 2 years. It's been sitting there. How long the other officer? How long ago he's left? Okay, before he left, did he give you the case? Okay. Well, apparently he didn't, because you're asking me questions about the case, but that's your job.
Right.
So now I'm looking at you like, well, what the hell you been doing? All this time. Now, if you lost a son or you lost one of your your kids and stuff, how would you feel? That you come and talking to somebody that's supposed to be serve and protect and supposed to be trying to go out here and get the person that did this harm to your kid, and you telling me something like that, and I'm supposed to believe you. Now you sitting there, we going around circles because you lying to me. Mm-hmm. I don't think you should lie to somebody. You should tell them the truth, and maybe you can expect this here. I have heard, and it's hard when you hear somebody say they might not never find them. So you take in the reality, oh, you mad at them because they told you the truth. And it could happen. That's just talking to normal people. Now here is, you took a job to serve and protect, but you won't tell me that. Now, but you act like you're doing your job, but you're not.
And I know this sounds like a wild question. My last question for you here, though, too, is I know you mentioned that your hope is to kind of get those answers, to find somebody. Are you at all confident that that can be done?
Well, like I said, and what I went through a week ago, I don't have the confidence in the detective department. I don't have confidence in none of the law enforcement in Charlotte. And then it makes you wonder. 4 people. So then it makes you wonder, what are you covering up?
A lot of things start to kind of play.
Yeah, you start reaching. Okay. If you really, really want to solve this case, you should have put a little bit more effort into it. Now, like I say, we all make mistakes. And in my eyes, the mayor of Charlotte made a mistake by not shutting it down. Okay, now you just threw it on the bus. She didn't care, so now why should we care? You know, and then the question you asked me is, do I have confidence that they gonna find? This right here might even piss them off more. You know, well, we doing our job. You can't tell me you're doing your job after 5 years. 100 and something casing that was found, no fingerprints. I even asked him, I say, well, you know, did you find it? You found some bullets in people? No, we didn't find any bullets in people. You know, so now you're telling me everything I'm asking you, you can't give me a straight answer. You're going beating around the bush.
Yeah, it's going in circles.
Yeah, I'm going around in circles with you. So I'm like, we're not gonna sit up here and go around circles, man. You know, tell me the truth. You know, you was out there. The officer that's on the case now was out there patrolling. He told me this himself. So you saw what's happening. So you're gonna tell me that you was out there for 3 days and you couldn't go to your captain? And some say, look, man, you know, none of y'all went to them and say, look, we got down there.
Yeah.
Nobody went to them. So you just went out there and just stood on your bikes or your cars and all this, just sat with your hands folded like this. And then when it happened, you're gonna ask the people that's asking you for help, you wanna go to ask them for help. And they sitting there going like, well, hell, you didn't do nothing.
Right.
You didn't even get involved in it. For 3 days, you didn't get involved in it. Now, you want us to go do your
job. That's all the questions that I have. Do you have any pictures of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just want to get a couple shots of that, and then honestly, we'll be out.
A great interview, obviously painful, just hearing obviously all the accounts and the memories, but we are so grateful to have that interview, and hopefully the legacy will live on in that way.